How's it going? This is Kevin from Gung Ho Golf, and today we're going to be doing a retractable build. So first step is going to be to get our motor bracket, which is the bracket with the holes here. And we're going to measure 12 inches away from the wall, and that's going to be our center point of the bracket. So on the next step here, we're going to take the other bracket. So that's going to be the plunger side that springs like that. And we're going to take, you're going to have a buddy kind of help you here, and we're going to attach this to the end. He's going to put it in on that side, and then you're going to make your measurements with your Sharpie up in this bracket so you know exactly that it has the right pressure to hold the bracket. So after you guys put the tube up on the brackets here, you're going to want to use the cotter pin on the motor side to just ensure that it doesn't come out. Okay, so next step here is after we have this tube up, plugged in, everything like that, make sure we have power. We're going to take the remote and we're going to completely set up the main screen now before we even start the side screens, just to ensure we can get that side screen bracket as close as possible to the main screen to eliminate that gap as much as possible. So watch this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to channel 2 because we want to set the motors up as like the left panel's number 1, main screen number 2, right screen number 3. So first we're going to click the motor button, the up button on the motor here, hold that, let it jog. I'm going to hold the up button on the remote, and now it jogs. So now it'll work automatically like that. So now we're going to attach the screen and then set the top and bottom limits for the main screen. All right, so next step here after we have the screen up is we're going to slide that tube that came inside of the 2.5 inch diameter tube that was up there, and we're going to slide it into the bottom hem of the main screen we just put up. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take those tube clamps that were attached to that pipe and we're going to put it over this fabric here. We want to make sure that bottom bar is completely covered and then just snap that clamp right on. So what we're going to need to do now after we have the screen up is, so with the remote, you can control it. We're going to get it close to where we want it on the top. The first thing we're going to do is go to the back of the remote and we're going to click this in once. It's going to jog. And we're going to go up and put it exactly where we want it to be. Right there's a good spot. Click it again. Now the top limit's set. So now we need to go all the way to the bottom. And we're gonna stop it right before it gets kind of to the bottom point where we want it. We want it hovering right above the ground. So I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna click the button on the back of the motor again. I'm gonna jog. I'm gonna kind of get it right. Right there's a good spot. So now we're going to start with the side screens. I usually start with the right side and with the motor bracket as well. So that motor is going to be on the inside so we can hide those wires a little better. So we're going to make sure that the center of this bracket is inset 6 inches inside the right edge of the main screen to just eliminate that gap and help balls not go through the corner. So now after you make your mark, inset 6 inches from the right edge of the screen, we're going to make sure that we put the bracket up here and get it as close as possible to the main screen while it's rolled up, but we don't want that metal part going through the bracket to interfere with the roll of the main screen. Okay, for the side screens, after we have that first motor side bracket in, we're going to get your friend up on 2 ladders and we're going to put the other end that has the little spring end on it. And with this bracket, we're going to hold it up there, make sure it's even for each bracket on each side of the wall. Then we're going to make our marks to make sure it has enough pressure to hold the tube up there with the brackets. Now after we have the side screen mounted up on the right side here, we're going to use the same method we just did for the main screen. We're first going to put that black panel on, and then we're going to set the top and bottom limits, but we're going to make sure to do it on channel 3. Okay, so after we put the screen on here, before we roll it all the way up, we're going to want to put the weight bar on the bottom and then clamp it just like we did the main screen. So now when we're on channel 3, after we put the black material up on the right side panel, we're going to set the top and bottom limits using the same method that we did for the main screen. Okay, so now that we finished the screens here, what I like to do is I like to put the screen down so I know exactly where to start the EVA foam in the turf, because we want that turf to be right in front of it and have the screen drop behind it. We'll eventually ramp it so it protects that bottom hem. So now that we put it all down, we just have this back section where we need to cut these down to perfectly fill it. And then after that, we'll put the turf on top and then cut the turf to exactly the EVA foam that we have on the floor. So when we're cutting the turf down, after we have it on top of the EVA foam, we need to find an anchor point. So we use that as our anchor point because we're not going to cut that edge against the door there, and we're not going to cut the edge where the screen's going to drop down. We're just going to leave those. So what we do, we need to cut this side down. So I just take a Sharpie and I just kind of push it down until and make a mark right where I think it's going to fold over. And I do that just all the way along. So I've made a few here now that are going to line up, and I'm going to go all the way down here and then flip it over a little bit more, take a straight edge in a utility blade, and just cut it down, and it'll be a perfectly cut line. All right, so now that we have the retractable up, turf down, everything's looking good, we're gonna start doing the ceiling custom wedges and tiles. So we're first gonna put the wedges in between these side panels with the liquid nails that we have. We're gonna have it from the bar up on the main screen retractable, about an inch to 2 inches away from it, just to give it some room. Then we'll overlap the tiles we put over the wedge, maybe an 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, to hide that wedge really well. Okay, so we just mounted this TK710 STI up on the ceiling here. We make sure we center it to the screen, and we have about 12.5 feet from lens to screen. If you want to know exactly how we found that measurement, check out our early video on how we mounted a projector.